Hello, this is the Journaling Podcast, Episode 3, A Table of Contents for Your Journal. Now, a table of contents can be useful for your personal writing as it is for any published tome out there, or published book rather, because, of course, it summarizes up front what is in your book. So most journals do not have a table of contents already in it, but there are at least two brands that I know of which have the Leuchtturm 1917 and the double-edged notes. Those two different brands tend to have a table of contents already printed in, so for your convenience. I have used the first one. I have not used the latter one. The first one's fine. I just had an issue with the paper. But, and because of that, I don't use the Leuchtturm. But, so what I have to do is write my own. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. So what I do is preserve the first 4 blank pages of the journal and begin writing in earnest on page 5, Dear Diary, blah, blah, blah. So the first 4 pages out of a 200-page book, for instance, your journal might vary there. But yeah, and what I do is write on the top edge of that first page, table of contents, and then under that, vertical line to right down the middle of the page. That gives me plenty of space. I usually use a grid journal, by the way, but you don't have to. But a grid journal will give me those horizontal lines that I need to write on. And it also gives me the perfect line to follow when I'm drawing the vertical line. So I usually draw it in half to give myself space. Plenty of spaces to write the journal name, the journal entry name. So on the first line, or really on any line of the table of contents, I write the date of the entry, a dash, and then a summary, usually not one sentence, but like just a title of the entries, just to give you an idea of what's in it. If I write about more than one subject, I do tend to list the different subjects. So if I happen to write about grocery shopping this morning, and then I switch to a different topic, my thoughts on current events, then the journal table of contents would be date dash grocery shopping or something like that. And then on the very next line, another dash just under the first dash, and the current event that I was talking about. I usually list that current event. And then the next line will be the date for the next entry, and so forth and so on. And that's how I tend to do it. Now, I've found that you can do it as you go along, like every time you write, put it in a table of contents, which makes more sense, time saving. But I tend to forget to do it until I've finished the entire book and just have one long session of rereading everything, which is not efficient, but that's fine. And the table of contents tends to be a very nice reminder of my year or the few months that I used that book without having to reread the entire book every time. And if I've titled it something intriguing, more than likely I'll figure out, or more than likely I'll dive deeper, but the table of contents usually satisfies any kind of nostalgia that I might have in rereading an old book. Yeah, so table of contents are useful, or is a useful tool for you if you reread your journal, or could be. An index might also be good for you. I have not found them to be as useful as I thought they would be, in which case you would preserve a few pages at the end of your journal, and I found that indexing to be quite tedious and not worth the time, but other people might. So, yeah, consider a table of contents to further help you to reread your journals, or at least a summary of them. Okay. Oh, by the way, I have created a playlist of all the episodes of this podcast, which so far, on YouTube anyway, which so far have been 3. And that way you can listen to all the episodes one right after the other on autoplay, because they do tend to be short, about 5 minutes, or brief rather. Okay, so thank you and goodbye.